Today we are going to look for poetry books. I have a request from Courageous Mantra, so we're at the bookstore today to look for the poetry books and look and see how they're designed, see what the trim sizes are, and page count, that kind of thing. I'm guessing there's going to be about 25 to 50 poems in a standard poetry book. And I'm not super familiar with poetry books, so this will be interesting to look at and see. But I know that Homebody is here because when I was here a week or two ago, I saw it. So I know that we're going to find that. I'm also looking for Margaret Atwood's new poetry book. I can't remember the name of it. And then there's a poetry book I want to find called Every Day is a Poem by Jacqueline. Let's see, I can't remember her name. Jacqueline Suskin. Sorry about that. Just covering up the camera there. This is published by Sounds True, and I follow them on Instagram, and they've been sharing pieces of her poems on their Instagram feed, and they're really cool. So I'm hoping that the book is here. It should be, but it might not be. Again, a lot of times some of the mid-size and larger publishers are going to be at a bookstore chain, but they might not be. It just depends on the size of the bookstore itself. So I think there's a 70% chance we'll find that book here. So we're at Barnes & Noble because it's big. I used to work at one, and it should be quiet. It's Sunday morning, but go to your independent bookstore. Independents are great too. Support your local bookstores, definitely. There's more than Amazon in the world. All right, let's see what we can find. Okay, here we are. We found there's poetry, drama, and literary criticism, so they're all in one big section. This is a really nice section, 3 whole days of poetry, and it does have literary criticism and drama, but most of this is going to be poetry. And here we already have Homebody by Rupi Kaur, and this is a nice volume. It's published by Andrews McNeil. It's a great price. This is, I believe, a 5x7. I'd have to compare it to a 6x9 to get a good idea. So let's see what the page count is. So we have 186 pages, 188 pages. I'm sorry, that's probably hard to see. I don't want to open it too much and break the spine, but it's about 188 pages. I really don't want to tear up the book. Now, one of the things that I notice in here is the drawings, which that's what Rupi is known for. So of course the drawings are going to be in the book, which is really nice. This, the black segments, the black printing between different segments of the book is interesting as well. There are a lot of poems in here. If it's 186 pages and there's 1 poem per page, some of them take more than a page. They are 2 and 3 and 4 pages, but that's still quite a lot of poems. So, very nice. And see, I've already started bending. I don't like that. You need to be careful when you're looking at books in the bookstore. Yeah, really pretty. I like the cream paper that it's on, on the inside. And it feels good. This is a matte front cover as well, so not glossy, and it's got a nice feel. A very nice book. Alright, so I found Margaret Atwood's, which is a 6x9, and I wanted to compare Homebody, which looks to be 5.5 by 8. So it is, Margaret's is a 6x9. Let's take a look at this one more closely. So Dearly by Margaret Atwood is a 6x9. It's hardcover. It's hard to tell on the outside who the publisher is, and it's not on the back either. So I checked the credits page, and it's actually HarperCollins. I'm sorry, the title page, and it's actually HarperCollins. So this Echo is an imprint of HarperCollins. So that's one of the big boys. This is a beautiful book. You've got 2 pages, poems that take about 2 pages. Some of them take more depending on the poem. It's 124 pages, so there's quite a few poems. So you need more than 25 to 50 poems in a book. Now this takes up, I want to show something, what they've done here. So in a poetry book, you're going to see a lot of blank pages because, first of all, you want the book to be a nice size, but it also gives space to the poems because poems need space. When you don't read them just page after page after page, you read one or two and then you stop generally. So that's why you've got a lot of white space. You want to see the form of the poem, okay, because poems have a specific form. And then you don't want just the next poem to come after that. So you need space, and that's why there's a lot of white space between each of the poems. All right, but you don't want them spread out too much. Nice size margins as well. There's a pretty paper. It's probably about a 50-pound because I can see through it a little bit. So it's not too thick. It's cream and it's got a nice tooth to it, which I like. So that is Margaret Atwood's. Now I'm going to look and see if I can find the other book I was looking for. So I wanted to look at these two books by Mary Oliver. So we all know Mary Oliver and her poems. She has, this one is Blue Horses, and it's by Penguin. And this is what I was envisioning when I was saying 25 to 50 poems in a book. As you can see, it's quite a thin trim size. It's a thin book. It's a 5.5 by 8 as well. And then we have this book, Mary Oliver Devotions, the selected poems of Mary Oliver, so not even all of them. And look how thick this book is, okay? So this one is over 450 pages, and Blue Horses is around 78, 79 pages, all right? So if you are considering publishing a poetry book, this is an option for you, this smaller size. And while this is done by a traditional publisher, this is very doable for a self-published author. All right, so if we look inside, again, I don't want to bend the spine. I'll try to get in here. But you can see that the poems are well laid out. Look at the nice margins. So if you're looking to do a poetry book self-published, I would get a few samples like this to look at how to format your poetry book. You want to be sure and have credits pages and contents pages at the front. These are great examples. So that's a great example, and that's very doable for self-publishing. This is also very doable. It's a huge page count, so your self-publishing price is going to be high, but it's definitely doable. But she wrote, you know, tons of poems, and these are not even all of her poems. But again, you can see the same formatting of the poems. I don't know if there's a reason some are left justified and some are centered on the page. You know, I would have to find out more about that. I've noticed that on Instagram too. Some are left justified and some are centered. So very interesting to see a comparison. Same poet, different books, but the same publisher, Penguin and Penguin. So another option I wanted to talk about is this was on display, on a poetry display, and I saw it here. It's a Barnes & Noble exclusive, but it's printed with Simon & Schuster, or rather published with Simon & Schuster. It's a case bound. So this is the hardcover, a very pretty hardcover. This makes it more gift-like, but the inside is still the same with the poems laid out in the same way. And again, we're looking at over 100 pages. I should check the pages before I turn on the camera. I'm sorry, guys. 134, 135 pages, and the poems are still laid out in that same way. So a poetry book does not have to have art inside. There are books with art inside. I'll show you one, but they don't have to have that. Okay, looking at the shelf here, I'm having a hard time finding books that are not by a big publisher. They're all big publishers. I found two so far. This one. Okay, that's not an icon or a publisher logo I've seen before, or that I'm familiar with. So we'll look at this one, and then I found this one here. Also, I'm looking, the thinner books are probably going to be from a different publisher. So let's take a look at these. All right, these two are not by large publishers. They are actually by smaller presses, and I believe this one is actually print on demand. So I'll tell you why I think that. So this one is by Coffee House Press, and they actually have information about themselves within the book. So they began as a letterpress in 1972. They're a publisher and an arts organization. I really like this quote: literature is not the same thing as publishing. This is about 100 and it's not quite 100 pages, 70 something. It's not even 90 pages, and you can see there's they can do a lot of different things with the way the poems are laid out. So that's really kind of fun. So that's one that is a small press. And then here we have, this one is by Copper Canyon Press. Haven't heard of them, but I know it's a print-on-demand printing because of this. So when you see this on the back page of a book, that means it's been print on demand, because this number has to match up with the cover when they do the printing, and that's why they have that. So if you look in a book like this one is not print on demand because it doesn't have that, and most books don't. So that's interesting. Also, this one has that matte feel. It's kind of a moleskin feel to the cover, and that's a common print on demand feature. And again, looking inside, I love how they have left justified but centered. They have very large margins for the poems, which you can do with poems. Very nice. So, and again, you've got the sections with whole pages that are nearly blank. Very nice. And this one is 120 something, 122 or so pages. The price, $17, very nice. This one, the price is $16.95. So they know how to price them. Very nice. Okay, well that was good. We found a lot of poetry books in there, and found Rupi Kaur's Homebody, looked at some Mary Oliver books and compared the size and the page count and the trim size, and looked at how they're all designed, and did not find Jacqueline Suskin Every Day is a Poem. I was kind of disappointed about that, but it doesn't surprise me. But I wish that we had found it. I would have liked to have seen it and shown a book by Sounds True, which is an independent publisher. They're doing quite well. They've been around for a long time, but they're not one of the top, publishers. So yeah, so that was a good visit. Again, more than 25 or 50 poems. You can do a book with 25 to 50 poems, but it looks like a lot of these had upwards towards 100 or more poems. Again, it depends on the length of the poem. So very good visit. If there's another type of book you want me to look at, and we'll come back around and look at these some more. There are so many poetry books. I could have shown you more, but most of them are quite clean inside. It's all about the poems, not quite so much about the illustrations, but some of them have illustrations and artwork. So yeah, so let me know if there's some other kind of requests that you have, other kinds of books. There's so many books to look at. They'd be fun to look at. So I'll be back next week with another episode.